Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway, where you can shop online and get easy delivery or free pickup. Get the same prices, deals, and rewards as in-store. Shop the weekly ad, clip deals, and earn points at Safeway.com or in the Safeway app.
Heading to the stock show in January is a nice reminder that, yep, Colorado is still very much ranch country. But then you hit the grocery store afterward and get a much less charming reminder that all those cattle out on the plains don't necessarily mean cheaper meat at the butcher counter. Beef prices are still pretty stubborn. Drought shrank herds, and even though this should be a time of rebuilding for ranchers, a lot of them just aren't there yet. So, long story short, if you're planning to cook up a Valentine's Day steak next month, expect it to cost more than it did last year. I'm Haley May. Coming up, we get a preview of the politics, policies, and pressures expected to shape a new legislative session.
The thing that's really going to overshadow the start of this session is on the Democratic side.
Plus, more Colorado students are graduating high school on time, and fewer are dropping out than ever before.
Our goal is for every student in our schools to have at least one adult who is trusted, who they feel like they can go to and get support.
And a Colorado nonprofit is giving women and their families the stability needed for a better life.
We're just making a change for generations to come.
It's Wednesday, January 14th. Here's the news in Colorado today. It always seems like it takes a little while after the holidays to get back into the swing of things. But now, Colorado businesses, schools, and governments are picking up the pace. And with the hustle and bustle of a fresh new year comes a brand new legislative session. For an update on what to expect out of the Capitol, Arlo spoke with CPR Public Affairs reporter Benta Birkland.
Let's start with the politics, because there's been tension between the state lawmakers in the last 6 or so months, both across the aisle and within Colorado's majority party, the Democrats. How might this impact the work that lawmakers do?
It really began last summer when the top Republican in the House had a very public confrontation and falling out with the chamber's number 2 Democrat. And this was over the handling of misconduct within the GOP caucus. That Republican leader, Rose Puglisi, then resigned her seat shortly afterwards, left the legislature. That means House Republicans have a new leader, Jarvis Caldwell. He's only in his second year in office, so we'll all be watching to see how he deals with his own caucus. Republicans have seen some big fractures over the years, and how he works with Democrats. And in the Senate, there is also a new Republican leader. He's been around the Capitol for a while, and there wasn't a dramatic shakeup there. All that said, the thing that's really going to overshadow the start of this session is on the Democratic side, and a rift that's open between progressives and moderates.
Yeah, what's going on there?
The public side of this fight is over whether a group of moderate Democrats broke state rules when they went to a retreat in Vail in the fall, and that retreat may have been paid for by business interests. The question's being investigated by the State Ethics Committee right now. So I think Democrats could be in a difficult spot to mend fences and try to bring the party together to work on policy. Here's what House Majority Leader Monica Duran had to say about it.
We want differences. We don't all want to be in an echo chamber because I think that fuels good policy. But that's where it ends. This isn't personal. We're here to work on the policy. So it's going to be a challenge. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, that sounds like it could be pretty awkward for the Democrats. One other thing that I imagine might make things more difficult, this is a big election year, and there's a lot of state lawmakers trying for new jobs.
Yes, that's right, and that always plays into the dynamic of session, from what policies pass to how lawmakers debate policies. This year, we'll have members running for Congress, governor, U.S. Senate, treasurer, and Secretary of State. We may see their opponents, in some cases fellow colleagues at the Capitol, trying to get them to take votes that could be used against them later. And also, some of these members running for higher office may be more checked out this session, distracted with fundraising and campaigning. And then, in addition to all of those members running for higher office, a number of representatives and senators are facing term limits, including the Speaker of the House, the Senate Majority Leader. This is their final session to cement their legacies.
Hundreds of bills are going to be debated in the Capitol this year, but there'll be a lot of attention, once again, on the budget. Lawmakers face another roughly $1 billion budget shortfall. Briefly help us understand how we got here again.
Well, this is the second year of a huge budget shortfall, and there are a number of things causing it. But the biggest one state economists point to is increased costs for Medicaid. The state expanded services, and at the same time, people on Medicaid have been needing more medical care, and the costs for services are increasing much faster than inflation. One fallout from this is there's less money left over for other things lawmakers want to do. So that'll make it tough to pass any legislation that comes with a price tag.
Do you have any sense of how lawmakers intend to tackle this budget challenge this year?
Last year, lawmakers did a lot of one-time budget transfers, as one member described it, digging through the couch cushions. But they won't be able to do that as much this year. So there will be more actual cuts to programs and services. One thing Governor Polis has proposed is to privatize Pinnacle Assurance, and that's the state's workers' compensation insurer of last resort. And his office said that would generate $400 million for the state. Lawmakers rejected that idea last year, but we'll have to see if it gains more traction this session.
What are some of the other policy priorities that you've been hearing about?
Lawmakers are still trying to deal with Colorado's anti-discrimination rules for AI. That's a bill they passed in 2024. It goes into effect in June, but that's been an incredibly thorny issue and will continue to be a struggle this session. Another thing the governor wants to tackle, and the Speaker of the House as well, high insurance costs for homeowners. Colorado has some of the most expensive rates in the country, even ahead of states like California. And then there's also going to be efforts to regulate flock cameras. These are the automatic license plate readers. Democratic Senator Judy Amabile says she wants to put more guardrails on how law enforcement uses that data. There's been a lot of controversy around flock surveillance, so that bill is definitely going to get a lot of attention.
Lots to cover for sure. CPR's public affairs reporter, Benta Berglund, thank you so much.
Thanks, Arlo.
Here's some good news for Colorado's future. More high school students are graduating on time, and fewer are dropping out.
The four-year graduation rate increased to 85.6%, which is the highest in more than a decade, and continues an increase over the past 3 years.
That's Colorado's Education Commissioner, Susana Cordova, presenting the latest numbers from her department earlier this week.
The dropout rate is the lowest that it's ever been at 1.6 across the state. That means 1,413 fewer students in grades 7 through 12 left school than in the previous year.
So, what's happening in Colorado schools to get those numbers moving in a positive direction? That's the first thing I want to know from CPR's education reporter, Jenny Brundeen. Hey, Jenny.
Hey, Haley.
So what's the state giving credit to?
Officials say rising graduation rates are because of increased student engagement, family outreach, targeted support for high-need students, and extra focus on those 6th and 9th grades in particular. Those are big transition years when students are at most risk of getting lost. Career exploration has also become a priority.
You're in all kinds of different classrooms for your reporting. What do those efforts actually look like on the ground?
Yeah, well, for career exploration, that can mean a lot of different things. Students taking classes in courses like cybersecurity, nursing, or food preparation, and then doing an internship with a company. It can also mean for a student in Pueblo taking auto mechanics or welding at Pueblo Community College, since the high schools there don't have specialized auto shops. These kinds of classes really help students want to be at school because they see connection to their lives now and in the future.
Right, more than just the basic curriculum. In your story, you mentioned Pueblo's efforts, and I thought it was really interesting that their approach to keeping kids enrolled casts a pretty wide net. It's everything from relationships to transportation.
Yeah, what's happening in Pueblo is pretty remarkable. It's a fairly high poverty district, and there are many barriers facing these kids. So to have such a high graduation rate really is an achievement. Pueblo Superintendent Barbara Kimsey says it starts with just helping students get to school.
We historically have not provided transportation to any student attending high school, so we've partnered with our city to help make those city routes available for our students.
They're also working on relationship building, both between schools and families, and also making sure every student has an adult at their school they have a meaningful relationship with. This focus on engaging students isn't unique to Pueblo. Lots of places are seeing success with similar approaches.
Yeah, on the note of success, I'm curious whether the graduation gains this year are being seen across the board, or if maybe there's certain student groups that are doing better than others.
There are gaps. The gaps aren't nearly as big as they are in state test scores, and that probably speaks to the fact that Colorado offers many different ways to prove graduation readiness besides an SAT score. You can do a capstone project or take a military readiness test, for example, but there are still gaps between different demographic groups. For example, Asian students have the highest graduation rate at about 93%, followed by white students at 90%, but the Black graduation rate is 81%, while the Native American rate is 71%.
We've been hearing a lot of stories over the last few years about all of the damage that the pandemic did to learning. Do these numbers suggest we might finally be coming out on the other side?
Yeah, Colorado has had a steady upward trend since the blip of the pandemic. In terms of academics, students have largely caught up except reading and writing in fourth grade. That's a year that the rigor in those subjects really increases, and eighth grade language arts and math.
There's one more statistic that was released this week by the Education Department. It shows that 10,000 fewer students were enrolled in Colorado schools last year compared to the year before. To me, that seems like a huge drop. Do we know what happened?
Yeah, first and foremost, the birth rate. It's been declining for years. Additionally, some of the new immigrants who arrived in Colorado and filled schools several years ago have left the state. There's also been a bump in the number of children who are homeschooled. The reason the decline is so important is enrollment determines how much money a school gets. So it's likely that if this pattern holds, we'll continue to see more school closures and other cutbacks at the district level.
All right. Thank you, Jenny.
You're welcome.
We're going to end today's show with a Denver nonprofit that's been helping women turn their lives around for nearly 4 decades. You may have seen their products in the grocery store, and I visited recently to hear the stories behind their soups. On Federal Boulevard in Denver, a building that used to be a car dealership is now filled with the whirring of machines and women's laughter. The Women's Bean Project warehouse is stacked to the brim with soup and baking mixes, snacks, candies, and even dog treats. All of it is packaged and mostly made right here in Colorado.
Here we're packaging up our ginger zing trail mix, and then they'll seal up the bags, put it through this band sealer to give it a, nice final seal, and then we'll package it up.
The project was founded in 1989 to create steady, paid transitional jobs for women who need a foothold to rebuild as they recover from addiction, escape domestic violence, or reintegrate after incarceration. That includes Brittany Persichetti, who found the program in 2023.
My past was a lot of drug addiction related, incarceration also, homelessness, and I actually ended up getting pregnant, and that was kind of my changing point for myself. I did not want to lose custody of my son, so
she moved into a sober living facility where a roommate told her about the program. After she was accepted, Brittany said she felt something she hadn't in a very long time.
You come in and everybody is so friendly and everyone just cares so much about you and really wants you to succeed and make changes in your life.
CEO Shelby Mattingly says that's by design.
That first phase is the stability phase, and that's about making sure that folks have access to transportation that they're going to need to get to work, that they have a place to live, that they have childcare if they need it, that they get aligned with their case manager.
The program serves Colorado women exclusively and teaches everything from conflict management to financial literacy while providing full-time paid work in the warehouse. Most women complete the program in 6 to 9 months and leave with a full-time job. For Brittany, that combination helped rebuild her life.
I also celebrated my 1 year of sobriety, and I did get custody of my son back.
She also learned something she didn't expect: how to advocate for and believe in herself.
You can come out on the other side. You don't have to be stuck in, this stigma of everything that you were when you came in this building. You can change and you can have the life that you want.
Now she works for the organization full-time, mentoring women who are just starting their own journeys.
For me, I needed to feel like I was making a difference, and I feel like I can do that here.
She says the work has given her a new word to carry with her.
Freedom. Freedom to do the things I want because now I have an income. Freedom to want more and to want to do more.
Additional reporting for today's show came from our Colorado Capital News Alliance colleagues at the Colorado Sun and KUNC. If you enjoyed today's show, leave us a review or a comment wherever you listen. It really helps. And hey, while you're at it, why not pass it along to a friend who might enjoy it too? I'm Haley May. This is CPR News.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway. From fresh produce to tender cuts of meat, Safeway proudly supports Colorado farms and local small businesses. You support local when you shop at Safeway or in the Safeway app.